G'day, Doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's episode 38, and we've got lots of stuff still to talk about. We're going to talk about arrivals, departures, and everything in between. We'll talk about the game in Papua New Guinea. I've just got a couple of things to do, so Gas is going to have a chat now and just keep it. Gas, you can see how many people are on at the moment. It says there's only one person watching at the moment, so you can talk underwater, mate, just like me. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, it was actually an interesting game, the Papua New Guinea game. G'day, Rhett. How you going, mate? I think the goal kickers were absent for the day, or probably told to not make any goals so they can keep the score close and make it respectable for the Kumals. Even Moses, when he came on, took one from almost beside the post and still hit the post.
Yeah, I know, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I suppose what probably helps these guys in this kind of game is I think the interchanges, because it's unlimited. Off the top of your head, would you know how many interchanges each team had?
No.
23 each.
How many? 23
each.
Wow.
So if it makes you sort of wonder, like with that kind of sort of changeover, like it would keep the game, the players fairly fresh on the field majority of the time. So it does keep the game a little bit closer. But yeah, so the Aussies weren't as dominant as they could have been in that game. So yeah, but
it definitely kept it. What did you think about Josh Curran?
I was going to say, from a Bulldog perspective, I thought he was outstanding. And if you watch the game, one of the things I sort of noticed a lot was not just so much what he did on the ball or with the ball, it's what he did off the ball. The amount of decoys he runs through the line, setting up and allowing players around him to have some space. It probably goes a little bit unnoticed sometimes. It's sort of an unselfish act, that player that doesn't always want to be the one that always is taking those hit-ups or taking those runs, but it's just as important because it puts the defence in two minds and gives his team around him the opportunity to create some play. So yeah, that was something that I noticed in the game that I thought wasn't it wasn't as sort of it's never something that's mentioned as much. No one ever talks about how many decoys. I don't even know. Is there even a stat that talks about how many decoys a player runs? From your experience?
Yeah, I think there actually is a stat, but you got to go find it. It doesn't normally come in the like as one of the main things they look at. So they got supports and they got decoy runs. Canterbury actually have been one of the worst teams with decoy runs, but literally like in the top two teams for support runs.
Hey, Joby.
So it's funny how that comes to be as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, I mean, it was a good experience. One of the most interesting things was a comment made by Phil Gould during the game, talking about the future sort of Chiefs coming in now, as they're now called, and how the idea is to try to fill their teams from their own backyard. Not so much, pillage and try to find scraps of all NRL players to bring out there and live in the PNG, but it's basically to send their players at a younger age out to Australian teams, Queensland, wherever, playing in the schoolboys and juniors and schools and get scholarships. And once they get themselves ready, then send them back to basically prime them for the NRL sort of debut, etc. So that's sort of the vision of the PNG team, not so much to grab, obviously they're going to need some experienced players around that, but it's not going to be sort of the be-all and end-all for them to fill their team. You'll find a lot of local talent that will fill that. And I think Phil sort of said that very well during the coverage the other day as well. He sort of emphasised it for quite a few minutes.
Yeah. I think that's a very important point to make as well, mate, because they're going to just talk about the pillaging of all the NRL clubs that are there at the moment. And obviously a lot of clubs have to get their act together in signing their talent. And I think I've said this many times, the Roosters and the Bulldogs have been very active in making sure they've got the best quality sort of juniors that they can get. And the Roosters have let go of a lot of players, but they've actually signed a lot of their juniors. I think even Souths have made a bit of progress with their juniors over the last couple of years. They've been a lot more competitive, but their issue has been they've had to blood a lot of them in reserve grade and stuff because of all their injuries in first grade, which sometimes can work the other way around because they can lose confidence.
Yeah.
But I'm really disappointed in Corey Parker's comments about the game yesterday, because if he was actually watching the game and not watching Bathurst, which I can guarantee you he's watching Bathurst, and he did not watch the game yesterday, he captained that side in 2010, and he comes out on the radio and starts just absolutely saying, come on, why do we need this? Almost like it's too cool for school now. Like, the season's too long for the players. Like, yeah, we get all that with the season, but he needs to understand that for players like Eisenhuth and even players which are on the verge of making it, and then you got a player who, like Mitch Moses, for example, who's there. You got about 3 players that are in the squad that are going over to England that played or who were there. And then you got players who are rewarded for the good tough season they've had for their clubs. So I'm hearing some music. Can you talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing some music or something come through.
So we'll have a look.
Down. It's coming through. You're on mute now, bro. Oh, there you go.
This for me is what that is all about. Something like that for me is what all of that stuff is about. Those kids absolutely
100%.
idolize those players. They look forward to that. Those players coming out. It's their national sport. I don't think you'll find any other country in the world will have a national sport like PNG have rugby league. Even our national sport here isn't rugby league. It's we've got multiple sports, but it's a religion to them over there.
Well, if Corey Parker was paying attention in 2023, and I did an article on this on Zero Tackle and also put it through the new website, Lachlan Gowan, Latu, Finau Latu, Logan Spinks, and even Ragari Warwick from Papua New Guinea, who went from the Cowboys to the Bulldogs, has been in our system for a few years, played in the Jersey Flag Grand Final. He actually had to come on as an 18th man replacement because Jonathan Sewer got knocked out, and he played really, really well in our win in Jersey Flag a couple of years ago. But he played for Papua New Guinea in that junior Cummels versus the junior Australian schoolboys. Now you can see what the Bulldogs have done. We've got 4 of those players in our system, all the same age, playing together, coming through, and 3 of them are 2 of them are in the top 30, and Logan's going to be in the top 30, I think, next year or the year after. So the point I'm making is the Cummels actually nearly won that game. And then last year when Mitch Woods was captain of the Australian side and had Jesse McLean and all these players in it, the Cummels actually drew with Australia. The junior Cummels drew with Australia, and it's not even talked about. Australia scored at the end with 2 minutes to go to tie the game, and then missed the conversion, which was a pretty easy conversion. He missed it, and it was a tie. And then this year, we were behind at half time, got there, and young David, now I've forgotten his bloody name because I've had a long day, but the new guy we've just, Brenton, what's his bloody name? I'm having a brain snap, but he actually played in that side as well. So he won the Peter Sterling medal for the Schoolboys Championship. David Bryanton. He come across from New Zealand and from Auckland, played for Kebra Park the Dogs have signed him. He looks like a really good fullback. Well, he played in that game yesterday as well. So we had another one of those kids. So for the last 3 years, the Bulldogs have got in their system, 6 players which played for those things. I think Carla Lawapu was in the 2022 side. So,
wow.
we've so that's why these things exist. There was a full crowd there yesterday. Yeah. And the thing about that PNG game is that this is 100% fact that nearly any kid who is over 5 or 6 years old can nearly name every NRL player or nearly every NRL team's name from the 1 to 17. From the Dolphins to the Bulldogs. Some of them go for three or four clubs. Like, they just live and breathe it, man. And they know that's why every player that played in that game, the crowd knew who they were.
Yeah.
And they were cheering for our boys as much as they're cheering for their own. Like, you can hear how loud they get too when they nearly score a try and stuff. Like, that's going to be a packed out stadium. The whole game and the media need to be positive about it. It's happening. But what Corey Parker tried to do? He tried to tie it onto this Albanese political thing, like it's Australia trying to doing it for politics. Well, don't just say politics. It's everyone knows what's happening. And Australia needs to have that relationship. So, but this game's been going for how many decades?
Yeah.
It's there because PNG and Australia have had a great relationship for a century, or longer, and they need to and they play live and breathe rugby league. Why wouldn't we continue to try and build that and play that game? Like, I don't get it. I do not get why anyone would shit on that. And if they're going to shit on it, so look, the Bulldogs will see my article on that. Because it's just funny that a guy that went to a state high school that come from pretty, normal, humble beginnings is now in a position where he's in the media and his wife's in the media and he's got a nice little breakfast show and good on him. He worked hard for it. Well done. But don't go and shit on your grassroots football, because that's what this is at the very essence of it. And exactly what you said, Gas, they're not just going to have a team full of NRL players. They're going to have a team of PNG players. And when those players live and breathe and train every day with NRL class players, with NRL coaches as professionals, it will not take that long. It will not. And for me, success isn't going to be written whether they get the wooden spoon 3 years in a row or whether they make the finals after 2 years. To me, success is, them getting better and better and better and starting to win games and having their own genuine heroes and stars of the NRL that come through their system and aren't from over here as much. So, it's the long haul, bro. It's the long haul.
Let's jump on a few comments, mate. You're starting to upset a few people there, mate.
Oh, am I? Oh, how you going, Scotty? Sorry, I'll phrase this for you, Scotty. We'll do our chats, our stuff, and then we come over to the chats, brother, and we'll talk about the chats as we go through. So, g'day, Rhett, Jovi. It's a disco, yay. Harry signed till 2029. Can I get a picture of Harry on the wall, please, legend? Yeah, I reckon I'll do up a I'll get a canvas done of Harry. I reckon the one of him kissing his jersey is going to look really good on my wall. after he scored. I think that was in the Parramatta game, wasn't it? When Kurt Mann made him look like broke people's legs stepping through and then passed on to Harry under the post.
And when he almost scored the 90-metre try against Melbourne.
Oh. Like, we win the game if that happens,
Oh. You know what that reminded me of? The try that Willie Mason almost scored in New South Wales, if you remember, against Queensland once. It was a blockbusting run, and then he just failed right at the end. He just couldn't get the ball down.
He's like, Yeah, I remember that. I actually saw that. I saw a replay of that recently, actually.
Okay.
But tell me, gratitude's there. I've got to show you the comments there, Gas. There you go. You see him now?
Yep.
Obrien signed as attacking coach. Is that a catch to get Ponga? Well, we will talk about that, guys. We're going to talk about Kayln Ponga. We're going to talk about Tracey. We're going to talk about Luke Smith. Waiting for Timmy to come on. We're going to talk about as much as we can, peeps. What's your thoughts on Adam Obrien? Yes.
One thing I've said before is he did put 66-0 against us, so that's always something that people say doesn't have an attack. Well, it destroyed us, but I wouldn't judge him just based on the last season he's had with his team. Obviously, there was a lot of disruptions in that team, and I think when your main star also was missing for majority of it, being Ponga, as he has been quite often over the years, which is something that hinders that play. But his success has been he's very consistent. But I think where he's been even better is probably been sometimes what he's done with the other coaches as an assistant coach, helping. I think was it the Roosters and the Storm that he's helped before. Yeah. And helping and basically to get success there as well. So I think sometimes, that takes its toll on you after a while, and maybe he needs to, do a bit of a Barrett and just take a sideward step and basically be a good support to someone. So with Seraldo being extremely defense orientated and JT I feel like completely unlocking what we want to do with our team, I think it's a great option for us to evolve and to get better and to continuously improve what we're trying to do. So having a fresh set of eyes and a different approach, someone that can come in and unlock some of our players and their their skill sets, I think that'll be a good thing for us. So, Seraldo can keep focusing on his defense, and he can obviously oversee the attack. And when he sees something that he likes, and Adam will try to implement what he feels like we need to basically get us, have more flair in that attack. Sometimes it feels like we just go through the motions and first, second, third, fourth, and it's not till sort of the fifth or sixth play where we decide to try to put something on. Sometimes we need to ask more questions, I feel, and a lot of people watching the game sometimes get frustrated. They go, "Oh, another hit up, another." It just so I think Galvin having a season under his belt, an off season under his belt, and then having a different sort of approach to try to get some more points, especially for the fact that last year's off season or this year's off season was all about cementing our defense that we got last year, and it worked. We got the best defense in the league again. Even though we leaked some points, we still got the best defense in the league. Now it's time to say, okay, we need to embed that defense and work smarter, because when we're getting tired, we need to be still turning up for each other and not conceding those cheap points. But how are we going to score those tries now and get those points? That'll make us win those games a lot easier and not have to win those games 2 or 3 times like we had to do a lot this year. So it was a real sort of struggle. A lot of games this year we won. We kind of felt like we've let the opposition back in at the end there, and we're almost, even from game 1 against the Dragons, we felt like, oh, that game's all won. All of a sudden, holy shit, we scored a couple of tries, and we have to hang on a bit. And we did that quite a few times this year. So I'm hoping this will give us an opportunity to unlock that attack and give us some more cheap points, easy points. Then our defense will take care of the rest. What's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of that. Look, the Bulldogs on tackle 4 set up plays, and then Lee Addison, when I had him on, talked a lot about the Bulldogs playing a typical. They're only a sort of a 2-shot team, whereas the good teams, as they're hitting their top, are taking 3, sometimes 4 shots at the opposition, especially in good ball. Whereas, look, I look at things a little bit differently, and I don't make these sweeping statements. Like I've had a bit of banter about Trent Barrett, but Trent Barrett can coach. I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt that Adam Obrien can coach. I think what people need to understand is that sometimes certain coaches are have a way of communicating with their teams, and something that may seem good for a while eventually becomes stale, which is sort of brings you back to your point of having a fresh set of eyes on our attack. I think Jason Taylor is a very methodical coach. I think he was trying to get certain things unlocked from some of our players. And if processes were followed and things were followed, I saw that as I saw so much potential in our attack. And I watch the Panthers every year. Apart from the start of this year, every single year they've sucked in attack. The 4 years they won, they were no good. They weren't blowing teams off the park unless those teams were literally shit, the way they went, like just weren't up to it. But it was pretty much they just build into their season off their getting confidence off their defense. And I see that with individuals as well. All individuals, when they get their defense right, they build their confidence in attack. I think the problem with the Bulldogs is we haven't had a genuine 7 for about 10 years. Toby, all this talk that Galvin's not a 7 and that Toby was a genuine 7. No, he wasn't. At the Bulldogs, he was a role player on a right edge who occasionally tried to evolve his game to link up on the left edge with Burton sometimes. Burton was still our most dominant half, and he was more dominant when he ran the ball more. Now, Toby tried to do all that, but he got knocked off his feet a few times, coughed up some possession, lost some confidence, even in games that we won. I felt he defended well one-on-one, but his reads were bad sometimes. I'm sick of all these bloody messages coming through. They're driving me absolutely nuts. Sorry, not from you guys, from my Facebook and stuff like that. It's my notifications have gone crazy. The other point I want to make about our attack. Can you hear me, or can you hear all these?
Yeah, I can hear, but I can hear the beeps as well. Yeah,
you can hear the beeps as well. That's really sucked. Sorry, everyone. I need to get that sorted. Had a few tech issues today. This beautiful microphone fell off just as we're about to start, which delayed us a little bit. What we need to talk about with our attack is that we lost in losing a Josh Adokar and going for a more experienced sort of approach and a sort of a more of a yardage-based approach. We lost that sort of, oh, my God. Sorry, I need to work out how to turn this off.
Turn that off, mate. Turn that off.
I'm going to let you take over for a second. I'm going to mute my phone.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm just going to go through a few comments while we do that. So, Obrien signing as an attacking coach. Is it a catch to get Ponga? Possibly. is a good assistant, wasn't good as a head coach. Don't disagree. I don't agree. He still was a good coach, got his team to the finals against a lot of adversity, had a good couple of times, made a good late run towards the end of the year and won quite a few games in a row. Where I thought he struggled, to be honest, was he had a lot of issues in the halves, and he had a few too many halves at his disposal, and he chopped and changed too many times. And I think that's what probably at the end brought about his downfall. He had too many people coming in and out, and he was not allowing them to build any consistency or any momentum or any combinations. If they didn't have a good result, they didn't play well. I think if you look at the season, without looking at stats, I bet you he changed his halves more than any other NRL team in the comp, especially over the last 2 years, I reckon. So that's something that I don't think was ideal for him, and it may have even been something that was mentioned in some of the other sort of podcasts and stuff like that, or even maybe your coach that you had and stuff like that. It wasn't ideal overall, but we're going to have a bit more settled environment for him to work with, and he's not going to be making those decisions. So he has to work with what we've got. So that'll be a good thing. And I think James mentions that him as an attacking coach, or would you have had a retired champion half? I don't actually think that retired champion half was ever an option. I don't think it was coming back to Sydney, even for 3 days. So for me, whatever sort of talk there was about that, I don't think it was fully true, because when we did listen and hear him talk during grand final day, I think he was always going to stay in the Gold Coast. Don't break the fence. Hello, Aki. Yep. G'day, Timmy.
I'm back up and running now.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Look, just a quick one-liner. None of these coaches are bad head coaches. They're just with the halfback thing. I think that was his downfall. When coaches are under pressure and when the noise gets louder, what do? They scapegoat their halves all the time, and it becomes almost a disease. It's just part of society. People see they're going to lose their job. They start making stupid decisions, and we saw that with the Bulldogs for years. They were building that war chest and then started wasting it before they even got it. Because people wanted to keep their jobs, and because they believed that they could fix the Bulldogs, you know what I mean? But they were started to rely on hope rather than rely on discipline and just understand that, they might have to lose their jobs in order for the club to progress.
Yeah.
Or risk losing their jobs, if that makes sense. And that's what some of these guys did, like the John Currys and stuff. Like, they had to really put it on the line. They had to start ignoring the fans a little bit.
Yep.
And by ignoring the fans, I don't mean not listening to them. I mean by not being affected to the point where they go and make hope-based decisions to try and get the fans on side. G'day, Timmy. Welcome. Great inclusion for the club, and Adam O'Brien signing on the dotted line. He has been in great systems. Scotty Warren, all things Bulldog supporter for life. Yeah, thanks, Timmy. I actually right-clicked when they came up, and it actually said to mute these things. I went, yay, I'll mute them. James, is it time to replace Jason Taylor as attacking coach for the next player like Cronk? I actually wanted to talk about this because there was a comment on Facebook from a bloke I really respect and like, and he basically said on the article from Fox that, it's not like Jason Taylor was doing much with our attack. And I'm like, I actually disagree. Like, I really subscribe to what Phil Gould said about stages, where you had to buy certain players, you had to be able to start to score some points in some games, and then you had to start getting closer to beating teams regularly, and then you had to start, beating those sides that were down the bottom or equal with you, and then you had to start competing with the next level up, and then you got to start competing with the ultimates. And on that journey, we've gone, you know, we were still in the top 8 for our attack last year. I think we finished 7th or 8th, maybe 9th at a push. We're still better than half the competition for our attack. So it's not that bad. And where was our attack before? It was 3rd last, nearly last every year. Under Dean Pay, it was horrible. It was like the Newcastle side. Their defence for most of the season was pretty good, but once they sort of fell out of contention, started to concede some big games, or it goes the other way where they just start winning games because they've got nothing to lose. Goes one or two ways, you know what I mean? And for us, it went both of those ways. Couple of seasons where we thought we were going to make the 8 the next year because we won 5 of our last 7 or 5 of our last 8. But it was just all a big tease. So when James says, should we get an ex-player like Cronk into our assistant? Look, I think Cooper Cronk would be a very good person, but he was at the Roosters. And since, you know, while he was a player there, they won 2 comps, but since then they haven't performed. They've gradually got, basically, since they dropped Kyle Flanagan, they haven't improved as far as their end standing on the ladder. They've made a prelim once, and that was last year. Before that, they were out before week 3 of the finals, since they dropped Kyle Flanagan. And Cooper Cronk was there the whole time, helping Robinson and helping that team. So I think Cooper would actually be good in junior development, and the reason I think that is because I see someone who methodically was. I like what someone said about Cooper Cronk. The best thing about Cooper Cronk is that you didn't know that he was there, and that's what made him a bit of a champion. I think Lee Addison actually said that the coach, he's got a lot of respect for the Melbourne system, and he's got a lot of respect for Bellamy and all these sort of things. Cooper Cronk, in some people's minds, was as good or better than Cameron Smith. Now, I don't agree with that. I think he was a secondary player to that, but I still think what he did at Roosters was very instrumental, but they had a gun team. It's not like he didn't come to a gun team. Across the park, I would suggest they had a more talented squad than some of the squads that Melbourne had as well. With Boyd Cordner in it and all that, I reckon he was a great footballer.
Latrell.
So, yeah, look, just the jury's out for me, but I think he understands through being under Bellamy, he understands that he had talent, but his career was built off a lot of obsessive hard work and repetition, and having a really good mind for the game. And I think he'd be great at identifying talent. That's what I believe. I think he might be good in that, but that's just my personal thought. Next one. Could the Dogs sign Jonah Pezze? Welcome, Zayed. What do you reckon there, Gas?
To be honest with you, I don't think that would be a good move. As good as a player as he is and everything, I think I'm happy with what we've got, and I'm happy with our juniors coming through as well. It's going to go against everything that we've tried to build the way we've done it now. And I don't think we could afford him either for what he's potentially going to demand. Obviously, the reason he's going to step out of the Melbourne system is to go be a starter somewhere. And I think he's going to be behind the pecking order with us. And I don't think it's going to upset too many things for us. As good a player as he is, and it would be good to have him, but, you know, in a different world maybe, but not. I don't think it's the right move for us.
I think he's going to Parramatta. It makes sense. They lose Dylan Brown for $1.4 million. Sign someone for less than what they're paying Dylan Brown. Get to have Josh Papali in their squad as well, for still under the price of Dylan Brown. It'll make sense. I think they'll probably play $500 or $600 grand for Jonah Pezze. Maybe it increases. Maybe they'll have incentives in it, all that sort of stuff. He's a good player. He's always been a player which a lot of people would consider to be a good player. But, I think if you put Pezzat in our team and Galvin in their team in the Storm side that night, I think the game would have been pretty similar to the way it ended up, is what I'm saying. Timmy, has the club already bought Foreign in for that ex-half role? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's been no more mention of it. And it was actually news before the Obrien news, and then now the Obrien news has come in. So, don't know. Welcome, Sean. Sean was upset how the season ended. Well, I think every Bulldogs fan wasn't happy that we lost. But I definitely was no less. I was proud of the boys, and I've said it till I'm blue in the face. I'll say it again. Forget the media noise. All the changes that happened in our side were forced for the most part. And, Galvin and Burton didn't get to play with each other in the halves for the last 3 games. Everyone needs to remember that as well. And the games leading up, we lost our fullback for 2 weeks. And honestly, I'll say it, losing Connor Tracey was the worst thing that happened to our season.
Yeah.
For those 2 weeks, that derailed our season more than anything. And it doesn't matter what people think or say. It's a fact. You take your fullback out of any side, they struggle, especially when your next man up isn't there. Now, Melbourne can rely on a Nick Meaney or Munster can go there or whatever because he's played plenty of fullback. Wishart's played fullback there, and they seem to go all right. Most sides, you take if Edwards isn't playing and they've got no Dane Laurie to back them up, fullback's going to be a big problem for the Panthers. Massive issue. And you can go through all this. Take Reece Walsh out of that side. Do they make the grand final? No, they don't. They go out in straight sets. Guys. They lose both. Okay, so you can't tell me the guy who every single judge who gave those daily endpoints throughout the year had Connor Tracey in the top 10 and as the second highest rated fullback in the comp until he gets that internal abdominal injury where he can't train for 2 weeks or do anything. I'll talk about this another 50 times, I reckon, because it's the truth. And that's why we need to go into this, dive a little bit deeper around the Kayln Ponga scenario and what would be an indicator of him coming to our club is all going to have a lot to do with Connor Tracey and what we see, I think, between now and November even, which we're talking 1 or 2 weeks, guys. If this is a thing next year where we're deciding whether we're going to sign Connor Tracey, I'd expect that we're making a big play for Kayln Ponga. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
Cam Smith is currently invested in developing juniors in Queensland. G'day, Jules 15. Welcome. Will Mitchell Woods make the difference we need?
Eventually.
Well, not in 2026, he won't.
Eventually he will, but not now.
And I would hate for anyone to think that that's going to be the scenario because it's like we're going to hear people say that O'Meal, Shrek's son, we need to give Shrek's son a go if we have a couple of losses. Or, we need to bring Mitch Woods in. I don't think Mitch Woods will start the season next year unless we have an injury to Burton or Galvin or Hayward even. That might change things as well if Hayward's injured because they might have to bring Turpin on and Turpin into the hooking role and then they might decide to give Mitch Woods a bench role.
14, yeah.
But I think you'll find they're going to play a hooker and Kurtman and a hooker on the bench until Bailey Hayward is a seasoned, tough 80-minute player at number 9 or until we get a 13 which can go deep into the match without needing a break. Until those things happen, we're going to have two small men on the bench because Kurt Mann isn't a big guy, but we've got to have him there, and we're going to have probably a Jake Turpin or, maybe Patrick Young just impresses everyone in the preseason from the top 30 and gets a go straight up. You never know. Serrato, if he thinks if they think they're ready and that they can handle it, and they're showing them through all of their data that they get, as well as the way they're into the contact of training in the games that they play, and the scrimmages and stuff, if they think he's going to be right, they'll put him there. We saw him do it with Haywood and Hayes and whoever else. And none of them let the Bulldogs down. None of them. So I trust if Woods gets to start, it means he's bloody earned it. It's not because they think he's just going to save us and they're just going to hope for the best. If he starts next year, it's because they know he's going to make his tackles out wide, and he's landing his kicks on the dime at training, and the guys feel energized by his presence. It's going to come down to all that, guys. Instead of just looking at someone's fucking name and what people say about someone, go watch their highlights and then tell yourself, if he was up against Halimi Olakawatu, would he put Halimi on his ass? Would he do what Toby Sexton did and put his shoulder into Halimi? Whether he bounces off or not doesn't matter. But is he going to get behind the ball and not knock himself out? If Kayln Ponga and Dylan Lucas are running at him on the left edge, is he going to fall to pieces? Or is he going to run out of the line, smash someone, with leg speed and stuff? That's whether he's going to be a first grader or not. It's not all this fucking hope and believe bullshit. That's all going to happen at training. That's all going to happen amongst the squad themselves. And I'm telling you, the squad that runs out there are going to know and trust who their 70s. And I'm telling you right now, that bloke that holds that title right now is Lachlan Galvin, who when he takes his shirt off looks like he's 16. He hasn't got pecs. He's got no abs. And that kid was, if you actually go watch the games, was trying to put hits on people. And he didn't shirk the task in any of it. I wasn't that convinced about Lachlan Galvin before getting him. But what he showed me as a 20-year-old and 19-year-old, I have no doubt he's going to make it in the big time. And I'm not going to say he's not a halfback. He wasn't a halfback, but I haven't seen a 7 in our team go slide from the left to the right, back to the left, back to the right, as many times as he did, and still have the energy to be backing up in support. Haven't seen that for a long, long time at the Bulldogs. How many times was Toby backing up in support in a game after making 20 tackles? I'm not putting shit on Toby. I'm just saying there's different levels to some of these players. And I think Galvin's just on another level. Whether he's got the mindset, though, to carry it through and not let it get to his head and able to not get injured and manage his injuries, they're all other things he still has to, all boxes he has to tick. But for me, what he's shown at this young age, I think Phil Gould knows what he's fucking talking about, is what I'm going to say. But they also worked pretty hard to sign Mitchell Woods, and Mitchell Woods' body, he physically looks like makes Galvin look like a 6-year-old. So there you go. What other ones have we got there?
Just Timmy, reinforcing what you just finished touching on there. O'Sullivan will help mentor the halves in the pathways. And James is just asking, do you like Obrien as an attacking coach? And if so, why? Which I think you've covered a bit of as well.
Yep.
Short-term pain, long-term gain. As Timmy says, it's it's good signs. Galvin is already investing himself and spending time with Roger Fabry, who's obviously been well documented helping Bronson with as a sprint coach. So the season's just finished, and he's already doing the hard yards. So that's good for any supporter to see, rather than be sipping something in Bali or something somewhere. Yeah.
Our good mate David Miller just said something about Burton a fullback. That would make me sick. Dave's a good bloke. I'm not actually on the comments at the moment, so if you want to keep going through them and have a chat about them.
Yep. So has Mitchell Woods filled the gap we needed? Well, he will, hopefully. Phil is saying that Foreign was never coming to Sydney. He settled on the Gold Coast and works on SEN radio. I think that's what we sort of got through. He did quite a few interviews during the grand final, where he was doing the grand final farewell parade for the retirees, and I think that information came out there as well. Birdo to fullback would be sick. So David having a bit of a laugh with us there about that. Yeah, but that's
Tell
sort
me
of
why it's a good idea and why it's a bad idea.
You asking David?
I'm asking you, brother.
Birdo's body needs to hold up, first of all. I think it's the bad thing for me is the same thing we've spoken about previously. If anyone's been on, it's that big size, big body thing that keep getting injured. Latrell's, Tommy Turbo, all these bigger guys. It's not always the be all and end all. Yes, they can have some great impact, some great games, but longevity wise, physicality wise, maintaining that constant effort all the time, it is pretty taxing and it takes its toll. And as good as Birdo is, and he could handle it if needed, I don't think in the long run it's going to be the betterment and getting the best out of him. What we could do at the moment, at 5'8" or potentially in the centres, but more at 5'8". I think we can utilise him better there. That's my thinking on that. I still think Connor's our man for fullback, and I think he's one of the most underrated players for us, and probably was, for me, our best player last year overall. I know that Crichton took the gong, but I still thought Connor was probably the more instrumental, and he was always in the discussion for the player of the match whenever we were talking about who was your best player in all our games, win, lose or draw. He was always in discussions, and obviously his daily endpoints showed that this year as well. And again, like you said, mate, when we sort of lost him for that few weeks, it was not just the 2 weeks we lost him; it was the 2 weeks during, and then the 2 or 3 weeks after that, before he got his condition back, that we didn't have the same Connor out there, and that was very telling on our season as well. It's all about timing, and I think for us, the timing of us into the finals was probably the worst of any of the teams that were in the top 8. The way that we lost, our two centers in that game, and then we just kept having players injured and missing, and Cherry couldn't play. All these things that just kept piling up. I think we had the worst sort of we want to call it worst luck in those finals, and the refereeing was very poor for our games as well, for those 2 games as well. So, especially the Melbourne game. That was one of the worst performances I've seen, one-sided sort of game, just completely ignoring Melbourne being Melbourne in Melbourne. Just how that they're not going to strangle us and hold us down and wrestle us and not do anything about it. It's a big sort of no-no for us. So we could have gone further, but at the end of the day, it's just going to make us hungrier and do more to get better next year.
That's it. What else we got on there?
Let's have a look. So Mick has already highlighted how important Connor was to the team. We struggled without him towards the end of the season. Yes, Timmy, that's right. Scott Wood, hit that like and subscribe button, Doggies fans. Thanks, Scotty. David Miller, yeah, Tim, I agree. Burden to lock. Won't be unhappy if Todd works his way into the lock position either. Yep. There's a lot of people backing on that. Pete Weber, g'day, buddy. Hi, Dogs. Evening. Keep the general alias, Connor Tracey, Stuff Ponga. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of different ways to look at that. It would be nice to have that kind of X factor in the game. When Ponga is on, he is lethal. Can he still reproduce? Can he still do that? Who knows? That remains to be seen. Whoever he's playing for. But when he's on, when he decides to run and play, he's a kind of player that can have a sort of Reece Walsh kind of effect on a game. But it's being able to reproduce that form now is going to be the question for him, and if his body can hold up.
Look, I'll take over here. I think this is a good segue. We'll get to everybody else's comments, and well done, Gas. We're keeping up with the comments pretty well. And Michael's just joined, so welcome, Michael, and welcome, Petey. And thanks to everyone who's a member of the channel. I really appreciate the money. It goes towards paying StreamYard in US dollars. So that we can have a nice little, better than just, we get this nice little sort of studio feel, which is great. So look, if we haven't signed Connor Tracey by November 1 and they're talking about signing Connor Tracey in round 5 next year, I don't think we'll be signing Connor Tracey. In fact, I think he'll be gone. He'll either be signed by us or he'll be gone. Because, I couldn't believe that Will Kennedy got a contract, a 1-year extension from Cronulla for $350,000. That was nearly as criminal as Ben Hunt signing for $450 with the Broncos. But what saved Cronulla is they actually made that offer at the November last year. So they've had that offer on the table all season, and said that's all we can afford. For we might be able to, if we play well and we do well and you do well, we might be able to offer you a better deal come 2027. But that's all going to depend, you know what I mean? And there just wasn't much demand for his services, even though to me he was at the top of the daily end count when it was close to going under closed doors. And he was playing really well. Like fullbacks that are making breaks and scoring length of the field tries are not in every team. So, look, I rate him and Connor Tracey almost on par with each other, and I think they're way underrated players. But look, Cronulla have got him for $350. Now, but Connor Tracey, I think he's worth more money than that. And the reason I say that is because of his utility value, the fact that he can kick a football into the in goal, do a chip over the top. He can do a lot of stuff. He can play on the wing. He can play in the centres. He can play at halfback. He can play at hooker if you wanted him to. He'd play anywhere. And that makes him more valuable to a team. So I love Connor Tracey, and I think he was a major reason we had a dip in form. Having Carraz have to go back to fullback in defence and having Critter play fullback and attack, whilst I felt that we did a really good job trying to manage it, it paled in comparison to the way that we played against Manly. And I think the other thing that people discount about that Manly game is that they were fucking up for it. They threw everything at us. They had us. Our boys. They said were left with bruises and welts from that game. Like they smashed us through the middle. And some of the tries we scored were like absolutely brilliant. Like it wasn't just one tip on. In two of the tries, there was 3 tip-ons by the lads, you know. Yeah, so but if we don't sign up Connor Tracey, knowing we need all this depth, it's not because Cade Dykes is in the club, because he's here as an opportunity signing and to resurrect his knees and to get his confidence and hopefully have him resurrect his career here, potentially as a fullback or something. If we don't sign Connor Tracey, it's not because Stephen Crichton's going to fullback or Matt Burton's going to fullback. It'll be because we're making a play for someone that's on very good, highly regarded, that's going to bring sponsorship, extra sponsorship money. I wasn't a big fan of Kayln Ponga from the point of the view that years, you know, like he was in the cubicles. Kurt Mann was holding his hair apparently. Just after he got a concussion, he's out on the cocaine basically. Is what it looked like. Allegedly, they were just having. He just felt sick in the toilet. Apparently, was the story. I don't hold that against anyone, by the way. Like whatever, I don't give a shit. When he was having his strawberry milkshake, you know, when he's talked about his love for the All Blacks and he's talked about, you know, playing Xbox and shit like that, and I see Serrato as someone who prefer to mix with footballers that go home and watch 20 replays of all the weekend's games or of the next opponent that they're playing because they want to study their strengths and weaknesses. That's who I see Serrato aligning with. But what I've heard about Ponga is in the last couple of years, he's a real big identity in Newcastle. As in, he gives a lot of his time. He's really well regarded. Since they made him the captain, he's matured a lot as a human, and is a much more quality person than what sort of comes across. And probably two criticisms of Ponga were similar to what people sort of thought of Matt Burton, like they didn't care as much. Bit really laid back, you know. But when you sort of hear, and at the end of the day, they are really competitive people and they hate losing. You find that out. Like they can't sleep at night after losses. So you can imagine the season Kayln's had of, can't sleep every night. A bit like me. A bit like us in the 7 years prior to 2024. Insomnia.
Yes.
Burton at fullback. His body won't handle it, okay? His body won't handle it. Latrell can't play fullback. His body doesn't handle it. Turbo's body doesn't handle it. Dugan's body didn't handle it. You need compact guys with similar length limbs across their body. You know, they're the types that work with the game the way it is at the moment. Yeah, probably the same reason Crichton won't be the fullback. It just shortens their careers. Their careers go longer with those smaller guys. Look at Tedesco. He's improving. And how old is he? 34, 35, you know. Dylan Edwards still got years ahead of him. 28, 29, you know. But yeah, if we haven't signed Tracey, I would say Ponga's coming, or Pappenhausen or someone like that is coming to our club. And how would it work? Well, I'd probably expect to see players like Curran, Kick-Out would also not be re-signed. And I don't think we would pay the full amount for Ponga. I think we would pay 800, 900 of his $1.4 million salary. I'd say Newcastle would be prepared to pay at least $500,000 to have $1 million in their cap. But I'd also think that Justin Holbrook would be pretty excited about having Dylan Brown and Kayln Ponga and Bradman Best and Fletcher Sharp all line up together. You know what I mean? I think he'd be excited by that as a coach. And if you weren't excited by that, and if you're riding that sort of back line off, you're probably a little bit keen. Anyway, what are we up to?
Timmy's talking about Burton McKickay may be on the way up with the expansion sides, as you just touched on there. So, I mean, that's got a lot to still play out, obviously. So, I wouldn't discount anything at the moment. There's going to be a lot of changes, and to be honest with you, pretty much every team's going to be affected by these expansion sides. So no one's going to be scot-free. Everyone's going to have players. At the moment, the Bulldogs will get the majority of the news, as we've got all year, because we sell the best clicks. So any Bulldog player that's linked is going to be a bigger story than anyone else. So it's still something that I'm not going to be too involved with. If it happens, it happens. I don't want to invest in it for nothing until it happens, and then we'll just move on when it does. If the player doesn't want to be there and he wants to get more money and we can't stop it, we can't afford him, then someone else will take that role and move up.
Look, I think Burton decides if he wants to stay at the Bulldogs. I really do. I don't think he's been pushed out. I think if he wants to go and take extra money on offer, this is what I mean, the way the media frame it, and I'll have to say I'm in the media now, as an independent, lowly paid journalist. It sounds ridiculous saying it, but the fact of the matter is that these stories and narratives that just talk about these guys like they're pieces of meat, like they're robots, like they don't have sleepless nights, like they don't have friends, that shit happens, that they, for some people it could be as easy that they didn't get to watch their favourite TV show, now they're out of whack. Or they just have a day where they can't concentrate. Like, we act like they're fucking robots on a game of Xbox. Me and my mate was talking about this yesterday. And it's bullshit. They're human beings and they're flawed, and sometimes they fuck up, or sometimes they can't perform the way that we would like them to perform. And what shits me is that I read comments and hear stuff from people about Connor Tracey, for example. They'll remember that one, like in a couple of games, he dropped the ball under fatigue. And I'll be like, okay, so what happened? He couldn't train the previous 2 weeks. He's come back early. He's got fatigued because he's lost residual fitness. And when you get fatigued, you don't concentrate as well and you drop the ball. It's not because he sucks as a footballer or he's lost his talent or he's lost his ability to play. He's lost that same ability that had him as one of the best player in the field against Manly and the best player and most consistent player of our entire season for the first 21 rounds. It's not because of that. It's not the player who made two of the best try-saving tackles we saw all year on Blaze Talangi against Penrith. But because he drops a couple of balls in a couple of weeks, all of a sudden we need to replace this guy, this piece of meat, and get another piece of meat. Like, people need to wake the fuck up. And we also talk about Matt Burton. Matt Burton is, I 100% believe Serrato when he says Matt Burton will decide if he's playing 5'8" next year. And he'll do what's best for the team as well because he's a leader in the club. If he thinks that he's a better chance at winning games and winning a premiership, if he's playing at centre, he'll tell the coach that, right? That's the sort of standing he has in the club. But for all these knickknacks on the sidelines who talk shit like I do, but sit there and talk in absolutes and say, oh, yeah, the Bulldogs want to turn Matt Burton into a centre because they want Galvin as a 5'8". And, Denon Kemp even, who I really like a lot of the time. What does he say? He goes, well, Phil Gould said, without a shadow of a doubt, that Lachlan Galvin's not a halfback. No, that's not what he said. He said that he'd never played halfback. He wasn't a halfback. He was talking past tense. And Gus Gould will know that Galvin showed more as a halfback in the games he played than Sexton ever did. Yet Sexton comes on with nothing to lose, with a great attitude that he had for the rest of the season, straightens up the attack a little bit. Yeah, great. But when he had to start the next week, where was it? You know what I mean? It wasn't there. He tried hard. Like, don't get me wrong, he actually tried harder than I gave him credit for. But yeah, he wasn't our halfback against Penrith. Galvin was. And anything that happened in that game was off Galvin. Nearly everything that happened off that game was off Galvin. And then I had people with the audacity to fucking say that Galvin was hogging the ball. Galvin had to, because Burton had done his AC joint on the left edge. And then when he tried to come in and play a bit of ad-lib half, Blaze Talunging lined him up and got him from the side and smashed him as he got the ball and put a dent in his confidence from that point as well. So, look, I'll talk about it till the cows come home. The Dogs had a good season. They did well. And we need to stop looking at things like, oh, we were shit here and these players were shit. Our top 30 did an amazing job. Our coaches did a great job. And the fans, for the most part, did a great job. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, when everyone's hating us, that's because we're doing things right. When we're cheering in round 2 in the streets and everyone's getting a fine from the police for tooting their horns, that's because the Bulldogs are back, baby. That's why. And they fucking hate it. They hate us. And that's what's going to drive our teams and our club to just keep being who we are, because no one's like we are. They're not. They can try and manufacture it, but they'll never be us. This fins up bullshit up here. They can manufacture that as much as they want, but they'll never be the Bulldogs. They'll never have the aura of the Bulldogs. You know why the Broncos hate the Bulldogs? Because they know the Bulldogs were the best club in Sydney. They were the last team that they ever fucking beat. That's why every game they look at the Bulldogs and they see us as the benchmark Sydney club, as a sleeping giant, even when we're doing shit. And they want to pulverise us. And they can't sleep at night if we beat them. That's the type of rivalry we got with the and us as fans, we feel that and we know that because we fucking hate Brisbane, right? We hate them, and we hate Melbourne nearly just as much. And for some of us, we hate Melbourne more, Melbourne, Brisbane, Roosters, they can all go and get effed. How many days we got till Vegas? 137?
Yeah, 137, mate.
Hit that like button, Scotty. How many likes have we got? Where's me super comments? Come on, throw the money at me.
15 likes,
Someone
mate.
What's his name? What's that lad's name who pays all the money on the kennel? Tell him to come here and pay some money. Jamie or something. Show me the money.
Let's go through some chats, buddy.
All right, buddy. Joey Johns is on. G'day, Joey. Joey goes for the Bulldogs. I didn't know that.
Burden ain't moving. He's our only kicker. He's got an NFL boot on him. Thank God for us. Even a poor attacking set coming off our line can be saved by his kicks, which is good. Old fella Dave, evening all. Ricky,
welcome, old fella.
Galvin
Ricky
is a future stud. Yes.
Like, subscribe, and join, Ricky, and I'll show you lots of Galvin.
Would you keep? Yeah, you can go, mate.
Would you keep Burton over Connor Tracey? No, who I would like to keep. I think Burton's. If you had to choose between one, I'd choose Burton. But I love Connor.
Yeah. Every team needs a Connor, mate.
Fullback is your most valuable position on the field. That's why it's the highest paid position on the field. And I can't wait till when the economy changes and wingers start getting paid more than props. I think that's another big fucking anomaly in the game. We put too much into props. I think Penrith struggle to win comps without him. Jacob Carraz, what he is for us. What's your thoughts there?
Couldn't agree more, mate. Especially now, a lot of those wingers are having huge impacts. I think it's not just finishing anymore. It's the runs coming off in the attacks coming off your line. It's become a hugely different game than it used to be. You rely on those wingers, and the finishing now is just been out of this world. Ever since they sort of took away the touching that corner post, some of those finishes have you see them at training. They set up all their mats on the ground, and they all dive and land on those mats and practice that sort of aerial. It's a real skill now, and if you can't execute it and can't do it, then you're not first grade material. It's something that they all have to have. But if you look at Melbourne, they've always been very strong on their big, solid, wingers. It's been a very important thing, part of their success. They really always have a good set of wingers, even from the days of Israel Folau, whoever they've had in that Marcus Bai, and even to the current crop. They've always had those, and Josh Adokar, always had solid, good wingers, and their team functions well around it. So I think you're right.
Point,
Yep.
On that point, I actually heard that it's actually part of the Melbourne DNA, because it's part of winning in crowd over with the AFL and the mark, is they want to show that skill set that's basically from down there, that like, here's some boys jumping up like they're AFL players, and doing spectacular up there, Kazali sort of shit.
Yeah.
But remember though, if they didn't do if they didn't allow that rule change, the comp would be, the average points scored would drop about probably 6 points a game, per match, per season, per game, per round. I reckon with all the changes that they've made in the game, even to make it faster, it's still, defense is so much better than it used to be.
Yeah.
But it's where they've had to bring these things in where you could touch the flag, like the Ken Irvine or whatever his name was, he couldn't touch the flag, and he got 200 something tries,
Yep.
Alex Johnson, he's been able to touch the flag, you know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
With salary cap restrictions, I think we can offer Connor an upgrade. I'm not sure about Burton. Kickout would need a pay cut.
Yeah, I think Kickout would need a pay cut with what we've got with the amount of depth we've got in the edge. And honestly, like, the way I see it is that if they don't re-sign Kickout, and this is going to just accelerate over the next week or so, they'll be like, oh, how can the Bulldogs not sort out Viliami Kickout's future right now? Like, no, his manager isn't talking about anything. Like, they're pretty up and down the way they do business. I don't think it's a big deal at the moment, but I think it comes down to, I reckon they would be completely on board. They know where they're standing. And I think it'd be as much as it'd be more about what Bill Kickout wants. I think the club will actually give Viliami what he sort of wants within reason. And I just don't know how many years he's got in him. Like, he doesn't look like he's slowing down, but he plays busted every week. Like, what he does for his size for the level of intensity that he plays at in kick chase, in defensive pressure, he's always Bill Kickout is always applying pressure. And when I hear dickheads say that he's lazy because he might not have tried to make 8 barnstorming runs to score tries, as you were alluding to with Josh Curran, Kickout's always running decoys. He's always ball playing. He's asking questions in numerous different ways. Some games doesn't pan out as well as others, but he's a friggin' asset to us and to any side. And look, if he wants 800 grand to go around again, they'll probably extend him a year. If he might just say, look, I'm happy to play another couple of seasons for a bit less, or he might say, I might want to move to the middle. I'll help move to the middle and play a different role if I can stay with this club. I think he'll have a lot to do with what happens. I know Gould loves him, so that's but Gould's loved people before and let them go. Whatever's best for the club.
Yeah.
But in my thinking though, is that Bill Kickout might be a sacrifice, and a Curran potentially, 2 players that I just see effort, heart, and effort again. That are hard to replace. I see those 2 being replaced in our lineup by players like Logan Spinks, Latu, Fainu Latu, and then us making a play to get that type of player at fullback, for example. That's how I see it playing out more so.
Yeah.
But for me, if you can keep Connor Tracey and get Kayln Ponga, even better for your depth. And I would even entertain looking at Will Kennedy next. If they aren't making a play for Ponga, I'd look at getting him and having him and Connor Tracey in your team, in your top 30. I think that would make us. It may be just one bridge too far, but I just think that Connor Tracey could make a best 17 as a winger or a centre. And look, I don't expect Marcello Montoya and Anari Tuala will be priority signings after next year either. So I just don't see that as happening.
There's a comment further down talking about Jaden Campbell as well, that he's off. He's got the November 1 as well. That might play into that as well. So there's a lot of potential options there as well.
Mike, I think Curran will be gone. That's just, I hope I'm wrong. And if I was to see him on the street, I'd say, I hope you're staying with the Bulldogs. And he wouldn't tell me if he was or wasn't, but I'd be telling him how much he's helped the Dogs get to where they are. And I'd be hoping that the Dogs keep him. But I just think for what he can earn and what we need to do in our cap management, I just see that as being something that doesn't line up in our future. Yeah, he has, mate.
So is Tedesco as well, I guess.
So is Kickout.
Yep.
So people make a big deal out of HIAs, and some of the HIAs that Ponga had, like, I was like, did he even get hit? I was questioning the validity of it, but he actually was. He was through deceleration of contact, shook his brain and giving concussion. People getting concussion every training session. Like it's part of rugby league. You just can't. I did an article today on it, to be honest, and people should read it on Zero Tackle. In my opinion, they're coming to get you, Gas. The cops coming to get you.
No, there's probably something at the Bankstown Airport, mate. Something going down.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
The window's closed as well, mate. The door's closed, but it's all right.
Oh, I love it, mate. Feels like I'm at home. back in Belmore. Scotty Wood. Jason Amen says Jason Taylor, don't rate him, to be honest, never have at West. Very happy with Obrien. I like Froggy. I call him Froggy because he looks like a frog to me. I've always liked Jason Taylor, except in 2012 when he stopped our runaround plays by whinging about it. Obrien might get better results from CT than he did with KP. He might. But really, look, years ago, no one gave a shit who the assistant coach was, did they? It's
Not like
only,
they do now.
It's like we're so invested in every part of everything. We worry about who the assistant coach is. I couldn't give a fuck, really. I know it means something, but they're not held to account, really. That, you know, coaches and organisations will keep them or force them out the door, or they'll get, if they're not successful, like they're easily, they're easy to scapegoat as well. But they really don't cop that heat in the media, do they? So, no one blames a club for being shit because of their assistant coach, yet we've got people saying our attack's not good enough. Well, I think we've evolved to a stage. Maybe Obrien helps Serrato go to that next level with attack. Maybe that's what happened, as Gas was talking about. But in my opinion, we lost a lot of our variation attack. We in the last couple of years, we got so many tries through little chips into the in goal. How many we get this year? Fuck all. Really. The previous 2 years, we've had O'Carr and Burton and Josh Curran and Hayward himself and people, Bronson Cherry. Like, we were scoring tries off kick willy-nilly. That was part of our deal because we had that speed. But that's another thing with Sexton this year. He lost his ability to get the ball past the front line.
Yeah.
He hardly got any repeat sets. He didn't really get any try assists from little kicks. Some of his bombs were really good this year. I felt he did a good job with most of his sort of bombs, but and placement of where the bombs went. But his short kicking game, which was one of his best assets, just abandoned him. I think Curran played well, tough place to go, PNG, in that heat with that crowd. With blokes, whether they can win a game or not, they can definitely know how to put a bruise on your body.
There's a bit more detail about that too, Amir. If you go back to this, I know you probably weren't there at the start of the chat, but we had a good discussion about the PNG game as well. If you go back to it later on, when you're driving to work tomorrow.
David just making a good point. He never thought about fullbacks like Dugan, Greg Inglis, Latrell. And that's the thing. People said they're lazy. They weren't lazy. They're different types of players with a lot of talent that didn't. They just couldn't. Their bodies just couldn't handle the workload and demands of the game the way it continued to evolve, and that comes with their body type. But, you catch these blokes at the right time where they're at their best and managed and peaking, Greg Inglis was an untouchable fullback there for a period. But as soon as those injuries caught up with him in that role, their club suffered because of it.
Had to be medically retired.
Finals after they won the comp? I don't think he made the finals after they won the comp.
No.
Yeah. Which is why I sort of agreed with what Gordy said about Madge from an NRL coach point of view. But Jaden Campbell, a free agent come November 1. I like Jaden Campbell. And I think he's progressing well as a half. I think the Titans should keep him for life.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much, mate. Feedback like that's really appreciated, brother. Or we could just start charging you to have your comments discussed. Do you want us to? Like, that's what it seems to happen in some other places. But that's the thing, guys. You guys are the podcast. It's not just me and Gas. It's your contributions which make this is why a lot of people listen in, because they get to hear what other people actually have to say. And if we don't like it, we just ban you and ridicule you for it and go all Nicolas Cage on it. People are saying we've become the Roosters and we're over the cap and we are cheats. That's all right, Amir. That's because they fucking hate us, mate. They want to just wear that with pride, brother. So, yeah. So, Jamin Salmon cost us a fortune. Just say that to them. So, you know.
Kurt, man.
Cost us heaps to, you know, Connor Tracey cost us a fortune when we got him. Max King cost a fortune when we got him. All these players, you know, that we brought in. That Drew Hutchison must have cost us $500,000 or $2 million a season. You know, Terps must be on $1 million a season. Critter's on $3 million. Dickhead. With the amount of players the Roosters let go and the amount that they replaced, it's fair to say that they were over the cap. On the right money, I'd re-sign Burton to give a few years in a ball-playing lock position. Maybe, but I think Galvin's the man there, bro. But I don't know. Galvin might stay as a halfback. Mitch Woods might come in as the 5'8". Maybe they swap numbers. Who knows? I don't think it's going to matter. All that matters is who's the dominant player and who's not. Or you don't have to have, you know, I looked at Kieran Foran and Daly Cherry Evans. Cherry Evans wore the 7, Foran wore the 6, but Foran was the fucking halfback. Until it wasn't until Foran really left that Daly Cherry Evans actually became the genuine 7 of that team, in my opinion. Thanks, Scotty. And thank you, Scotty.
Thanks, Scotty.
Matt Burton, Rob not getting picked for the Ashes. Oh, I think Kevy actually mentioned that, and I'd have to say I agree, but I'm actually glad about it.
He can do with the rest.
He needs a rest, man. He was set to have the best season of all time. I don't think people realise how primed he was this year. Birdo. Frustrating. Up the mighty Bulldogs. James, when Burton leaves, would any team sign him as a half or as a centre? Oh, I think if Burton's leaving our club, he's leaving as a half. You know, they're buying him as a half, mate. He's still young. That's what I mean. Like, people forget how young our team is when it comes to our spine and our main players. Crichton is 25. He's the leader of our club. Burton's 25. They're not. They're still they're barely fucking men. Like, and as a half, Burton's nowhere near his peak. That's the scary thing. But I think his future will have a lot to do with how his body holds up. Thank you, Timmy. Woods, Galvin in the halves and Burton out the centre, problem solved. Yeah, I just don't think it's as easy as that, mate. What are you going to do with Bronson Cherry? What are you going to do with Jethro Renikama, who's only 19? He's going to be a winger. What are you going to do with Carraz? you know, I know the easy thing to say, you know, piss Montoya off, push Sherry out to the wing. It's not how it works, brother. I think, look, if Birdo decides that that's where he wants to play and that's going to be best for our team, I've got no problem with it. But I don't really like having $1.8 million worth of salary cap playing together in the centres. I really don't. I just don't see that as, and that's not sustainable, and that won't continue to happen. And then people will say, okay, we'll push Crichton to fullback. I just don't think his body can hold up as much as I don't think Burton's body can hold up. But if they move there and they prove me wrong, fuck, no consequence for me. I'm cheering all the way. I'm cheering. Prove me wrong, mate. I'm not saying it disrespectfully. There's no disrespect in it. The patterns suggest to me that players that are above 90 kilos, 94, 95 kilos, don't play many games per year as fullbacks. It's just at their best, you know, they can't do it. You look at Connor Tracey, he played how many games? He played, 40 games in a row at fullback. Not many teams are getting that, right?
Billy Slater was diminutive, mate. He was get on the horses, mate.
well, how durable was Luke Patton?
Yeah.
Will Kennedy's barely missed a game. Tedesco, I know he had those knee injuries and stuff, and he's had some HIAs, but for last 5 or 6 years, he's pretty much played a majority of games, you know.
Unless Kiko's running at him, he's good.
I'd suspect that Jai Gray, they did a hip drop on him for him to get injured at South. He suffered a hip drop on it and got a syndesmosis. But outside of that, like, he doesn't look like he'll miss a game of footy. We'll see how this young fella, Jareen Buller, goes, because he's another one of these big body types, right? Because he's sort of an interesting one. Like, there'll be some guys who are tall and who are that shape that won't get injured, because some people just have that luck or DNA where they just don't break down the same way. But the common denominator here is the pattern is that the big lanky fullbacks don't tend to have a lot of longevity in these fullback roles in the modern era. They just don't. We need Xavier Coates that can jump like Jordan. Oh, we've got a few coming through, bro, that'll probably make Coates look like a little baby. We've got some big, tall boys coming through. Welcome, Damo, 596. Would they consider kick out in the middle, perhaps at 13? He has good hands and we need size in the middle. Well, look, I don't hate that when it comes to kick out as a 13, but it's a different role. It'd be very, very interesting to see how long he could play in that capacity to give space to his halves in a ball-playing capacity, make all his tackles in the middle, and lead effort areas as well. You got to be a support player as a lock. You got to get back for a ruck if needed. The amount of Ks these locks cover is why they're regarded so highly. The players like Isaiah and what's his face from South and Cameron Murray and all these sort of players, even Patrick Carrigan, you know, like they cover a lot of ground. And I felt that Clark, who won the Daly M Lock of the Year, I thought when he was evolving at the Titans, I was like, they're a better side every time he's on the field. And I sort of felt like that with Kurt Mann at the Knights. like because he was playing off the bench as well, and I'm like, they're just better team with when they come on the field. But the difference with Aaron Clark is he's a lot bigger body than Kurt Mann. I think he could evolve into a very good player, to be honest. But now he's at the Warriors. I don't think they'll ever let him go. But yeah, he's a very much an underrated footballer. Welcome, Mughuts. Yeah, you can go watch the podcast later, brother, and watch it from the start. Gripping viewing. Talking about PNG and whatever else. Heard Turbo rumours. Andy says we need a bit more up front. What's your thoughts there, Gas?
Well, it's on its way, mate. Leo's coming. We've got some good depth there now, so it's going to be some good competitive.
What Leo give us?
Yeah, well, it depends if they can develop him into a more minutes front rower as well. So I think that's going to be the key. I think it'll be a great 1-2 with Max King. That's what I think the advantage will be. It'll bring the best out of each other. And Max will have a great partner to work with in that role. So sometimes I feel like he's been doing the heavy lifting. And this year, we had the very, very late start to Sam Hughes, and then we had to work with all the sort of next in line. But I think if Leo can get his minutes up and they can get some good effect out of him, and once he works into our system, I think that'll be a good thing for him. I think it was very it was a different system for him that he was working with, and I think our system would probably be suited to someone with his body set, and Max will be the beneficiary of that. I feel. What do you think, mate?
Look, we've got Leo Thompson up there now. And what I think is that Leo is a very, very good player. So let's have a look through his stats, shall we?
Yep.
So he's 107 kilos. He's the same age as Critter and Birdo and everyone. He's 186 centimeters, which means he's about 6'1", 6'2". So he's not huge. He's only had 80 games, so he's relatively fresh. This season he had 16 matches, tackling at 95%, which isn't too bad in a side that came last. He averaged 10 hit-ups a match. And his post-contact meters, he had 16 tackle breaks. So there you go. And look, he only had 3 wins as a player this year, but the minutes he played in every game. Round 1, 52. Round 2, 35. Round 3 against the Bulldogs. Round 5 against the Bulldogs. So he actually came off injured in round 2. Against the Dolphins. Against the Dogs, he played 72 minutes. He then played 58 against the Tigers, 65 against the Sharks, 43 against the Warriors, nearly 60 versus the Rabbits. Then he played 40, 50, 60, 70, 50, 40, 60, 40, 60, right? He missed 6 games between the Dragons and Storm match. So he plays more minutes than Max King on average. So he's probably averaging about 50, 55 minutes a game. And as far as his stats, his tackle efficiency has hovered between 93 and 95%. And his average running meters, 104 meters averaged in 2024 and 98 in 2025. In a team that the team that come 8th, he averages 104. And he wasn't the dominant prop in his side either. They had the Saifidi brothers in 2024. 25, team becomes last. His average is a little bit down. And that's because they had less possession and less good ball. But his fantasy points increased to their highest last year. So obviously he was doing a lot more tackling in 2025. He had to make 600 tackles. He had 17 offloads last year. So offloads increased last year for Leo. Tackle breaks were down, though, which is interesting. So he's skittling players a lot more. But I think he's probably playing a bit more of had a bit more ball playing in him in 2025. There's lots of ways to look at the stats. But what I will say is that he plays longer minutes, which means the Dogs can potentially carry a bigger forward on the bench. I just don't think they need to yet. But that will be key for the Bulldogs, is that when there is an injury to Thompson, they'll bring Hughes straight in, or Daniel Fafita will just come straight into the starting side. And then on the bench, the next man up will be Curran after that. Curran or Hayes will be fighting, you'd think, for that spot. If Satili's out, they've got the spot on the bench. If a couple of them are out, then it's like, then it comes on to Hopboy or Jack Todd. They're the next men up after that. And then you've got the likes of Underhill from the development list and Logan Spinks from the development list who'll be asking questions after that. So that's sort of how it looks to me at the moment.
Yep.
But he just gives us that other layer of depth, and the fact that we've kept and we've still got Zion Mayu'u, who may have a really good preseason, and he could be someone who comes in and says, bites the bullet and said, well, I came here for the opportunity. I haven't taken it yet, but now I'm gonna. That might evolve as well, or he may find himself at another club. We don't know. But he's in the 30 at the moment, and if he has a good preseason, who knows what could happen for next year with him, because he's a player who's played a lot of the edge. And if you can play in the back row, you can develop your minutes. You've got that ability.
Yep.
So there you go. Grew up next door to Bankstown Airport. Scotty's in Campbelltown. Yeah, I lived in Minto for quite a while, in Ambervale. And Rosemeadow.
I think you just covered that, mate.
Hey?
I think you just covered that one.
Yeah, there we go. Signing of Obrien. Gus might have heart issues, but his brain is a genius. Oh, I'm going to share something with you guys. So let's have a look at this for a bit of fun. Let's have a look at it. Can you see that on the screen? What's it say? What is this, guys? So I've been doing me hello, it's Buzz, and we got episode 101. Buzz returns to his voodoo doll there. He's angered by the fact that he knows he can't finish Phil Gould off, because without Phil Gould, Buzz Rothfield doesn't have a career and he has no stories. But look, he's got some other voodoo dolls here. He's got Madge Maguire in the spew bucket. He's got James Graham there ready to go, and he's got Cooper Cronk over here ready to go. He's got photos of Nico Hines on the wall, and he's got a bunch of newspaper articles on the wall as well. So I don't know if you think that's funny, but I do. I think it's real funny. Bit soon. Maybe Buzz got out the voodoo doll on Gus But Gus, too tough for him. Too tough. Look at your Barbers and your Pappenhausen, Scotty says. Well, yeah, look, Pappy's had those injuries. I'll tell you that much. He's had a lot of injuries. But I think he's also a player that had that lightning speed, and he was probably frail, and he put himself into some situations where he had sort of no self-preservation either. Benny Barber, though, got until the Broncos tried to muscle him up a bit too much. I know he used to limp around a lot and pretend he got hurt all the time, but he never missed games. Yeah. Amir says, biggest regret for us is getting rid of the Fox. Love Montoya, but he's not a Josh Adokar. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I really love Josh Adokar, and he did a lot for us off the field as well. And he took away a layer of our game, which made us more of a threat in attack, for sure.
Can't lie to Gus, mate.
That's it. Moran to be used like a Talakai or a Sevo winger. Be sad to see him get phased out. Moran. Oh, you mean Curtis Moran?
He's gone anyway.
Joey, he's gone to the Titans, brother. He's gone to the Titans. Oh, Jamie's watching. I knew you'd be watching, Jamie. You can't come on though. You're only allowed to talk if you pay money, Jamie. That's the deal you've got with Elmo and that. Nah, mate, you can talk here for free anytime you want, brother. I'll have you on the show one day too. Although you've said some nasty things about some of our players sometimes. So I watch all the podcasts. Mainly because my ego has to try and correct them when they say shit that's wrong. What's the hype around Woods? Just curious. Is it his kicking game or his organising?
I think it's his running game as well, isn't it?
God. Pete, this is what I'm talking about. No, you've come to the right place. I'll tell you that much. You've come to the right place. Let's have a look, eh? Let's have a look. Let's watch the Mitch Woods highlights. Oh, that's no good, is it? Can you take over for a bit, Gas, while I have a look for some stuff?
Yep. Scotty's saying Jethro could be our Michael Jordan, but on the wing. If we pick him in jersey 23, mate, that'll finish that off. Hi, gentlemen. Our Achilles heel is our middles. We have Leo Thompson arriving. Will the club sign further middles for 2026? I think Michael has covered quite a bit of, in the last two podcasts, some pretty good detail about all our up-and-comers coming through in the top 30. I think if you go through, even on Dogfather Media on the website, you'll find quite a few stories about that king. You'll see some good information there that will give you some confidence for what's coming in 2026. Thoughts on Luke Smith leaving? Was really looking forward to see him develop, but oh well. We can't keep them all, mate. But obviously he's got an opportunity elsewhere, and good luck to him. So he'll make a name for himself somewhere else. And we've got lots of guys competing for those positions, which is good. Timmy talks about Lindsay Smith and Scott Sorensen and Liam Henry are coming off contract at the Panthers. If the club can afford another marquee forward, I'm not sure. Remains to be seen, depending on what they do elsewhere. Looking forward to seeing Finau. Yep. Kikau's in Fiji getting married. The club has also opened up the Kikau Academy in Fiji. He will sign for less. Let's hope so, Phil. I think we might have to move Kicks on after this year. Yeah, Mick's already covered a lot of that. Mick is looking at Mitch Woods now. So what about Mitchell Woods? Mitch is ready. Go Tomo. Adam O'Brien will know how Leo ticks. What about Fafita? Fafita is fat. I don't think he's fat. I think he's a good size. Works hard. We need size. Not fit enough. Not all your forwards play 80 minutes, obviously, so you get them for their impact. And I think Fafita's done the right thing by us. We obviously had a couple of injuries this year as well, but when he did get his opportunity, I think he was exceptional for us as well. I don't think he let anyone down. Timmy's in Penrith. Yep, Scotty, you don't want to lie to Gus. That's what was the end for our man, the Fox. And what one of our players have I talked shit about is Jamie asking you, mate, when you're ready to answer him. I'll leave that with the boss, mate. You're on mute there, mate. Your microphone's not working, Mick, if you can hear us.
Sorry, Jamie, I probably made it up. Just seeing if you're listening, brother. Just seeing if you're listening. Sorry. No, Jamie's a great fan. He listens to all the podcasts. He just makes me jealous because he gives all his money to Elmo. And he doesn't give me the money. But I cherish that $5 forever, mate. And seriously, never pay me any money. I mean it. I was blessed. And I've paid it forward. Trust me. But I'll keep saying it because I just think it's funny. All right. So let's have a look at some Mitchy Woods. Let's show some Mitchy Woods highlights, shall we? Just for those who are playing at home. Now, can we see that?
Not
can
yet.
we actually see that?
Not yet.
All right. Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's coming up. It's coming up. I'll try it again. Sorry, guys. For those listening at home, wanting something better than that. There it is. All right, so let's play this.
On the last, they are up over the halfway. And now Woods will take the line on. He'll grab a kick for himself, Mitchell Woods. He retrieves it, and he sends it to the wing. And it's Cassius Tia who puts it down.
You
with
like
Samisi Kiwa on the last. They are up over the halfway. And now Woods will take the line on.
Right.
He'll grab a kick for himself, Mitchell Woods. He retrieves it, and he sends it to the wing. And it's Cassius Tia.
And
Oh my
You'd
God.
think.
There's supposed to be some more here.
it's all right, mate.
So on the replay, first.
They let go of their halfback. When Buzz goes,
Hey, it's great when young boys.
Sorry, guys. That's just so annoying.
It's all right, mate. I think one was enough to show us everything he had, mate, other than a tackle. That's all right.
Well, that's what I want to see, more of the defensive stuff. So annoying that all highlights have to be to do with scoring tries and whatever else. But I've got a few minutes of him here. How's that look? He's got that acceleration. He's got the passing game. He's got the footwork. And he takes the line on because he...
Bit of Joey Johns about him.
What was yours, mate?
A bit of Joey Johns about his running.
Throws the little cutty out there as well up the Wallow in the corner. AJ Jones. He's really quick as well. He's got that acceleration. Let's turn that off. But there you go, guys. Just a little bit of stuff. That's it, Jamie. Sorry, mate. I was actually being a bit of a prick. I do apologise, my friend. Go Mitchy Woods. He's tough. Can Woods goal kick? Yeah, he does goal kicking as well. But I don't think he's first choice anymore, but he can do it all. He can do it all, guys. But to me, what I was trying to say is that his attributes, he can play 6 or 7's not going to matter. And for me, I reckon he can play fullback.
Yep.
Because he can run the football. And honestly, if he was to be someone who goes out there and struggles with the defensive work, not that he will, I think he'll continue to build in that area and he'll be ready when he's ready to go. But if that was a weakness in his game, I don't see the Bulldogs system being a system where they're like, okay, go out there and protect Mitchy. It's like you go out there, Mitchy, you go out there and you fucking do your job. But if it just say it becomes something that was an Achilles heel for him, I think fullback could be a place where they look at. Whilst you've got to get your defence right as a fullback as well, it's a different type of defence than standing in the line, copping second rowers left, right, and centre.
Yep.
But I remember Gus saying that Wood's tackling techniques reminded him of Turvey Mortimer. Oh, I think he didn't say tackling techniques. He said that he reminds him of Turvey. He goes, he doesn't normally make comparisons with people. Because he's actually said it on Channel 9 on 100% Footy. He's said it in commentary. And he's also said it on his podcast a couple of times. Because I do watch a fair bit of Gus Gould. And if you're going to be someone who talks about him, you got to sort of see the patterns and understand a little bit. Yeah, I don't remember him saying his defence reminds him of Steve Mortimer. I think he just said him as a player reminds him more of Turvey Mortimer. And that's, for me, is why I see him as a potential fullback, because I think Turvey in today's game, because Turvey was a cover defender. Fullbacks are cover defenders in today's game. So that's where I get that sort of, and the fact that he played AFL and he was almost chose that as a sport and still has the option at some point to actually switch. Although he's chosen rugby league, but he could still switch, you know what I mean? You have to be able to kick a football, you know what I mean? And you have to be able to catch a football if you play AFL. You know, catch the ball off a kick, take a mark. So, to me, he's got all the attributes. Yeah, he's definitely got something about him. He's a goer, and Reynolds was a goer, you know what I mean? And Mitch Woods is a goer. He's really competitive. And what I will say is that when you can see in those junior sides he plays with, they're inspired by him. So if he wins the hearts and minds of his NRL teammates, That's half the battle, and as a halfback, you've got to do that. And if you can't do that, you can't be the halfback in today's game. You've got to be able to do that. And I think that's where we'll see whether whether it makes or breaks him, whether he can win the teammates over as the 7. How are we going, Gas? We're going for 2 hours with an audience of about 35 people the whole time.
Yeah. And you've hit the last chat there, mate. So you've done well.
You've done really well. No real agenda tonight. I was late back from work and we had to do it on the fly. I was gonna do this and gonna do that.
Teamwork, mate. Teamwork.
Yeah, but if it is true that Luke Smith left the club, I'm pretty sad about that. It's rare to see a captain of a junior grade not make it or not make it with us. But it happens. So I hope he gets another club, and obviously good people and good family and come from the mid-north coast. So product from the Greater Western Tigers, or Greater Northern Tigers, I should say. Same as Logan Spinks and Eli Clark and players like that. So just stuck behind a couple of players, wasn't he? So just in a really stacked position, and I sort of felt that it was going to be hard to ascend past some of these people. And then I think Logan Spinks is probably a next level up. He's just got more of that physicality. But Luke was tough, you know. Who's to say he can't go to a club and be successful and make the Bulldogs regret the day they let him go, you know what I mean?
Like Dale Finucane.
Yeah. Well, he played 2 grand finals. That was a bit more of a stuff up, in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, next week, mate, what people got to look forward to is the preview of the first test match between Australia and the Poms. So the Poms have announced their team today, so we'll review those probably next week. And then the week after, we'll dissect the result as well. So plenty of footy still to come. And mixed in between, always, the Bulldogs. We'll be chewing and eating and drinking Bulldogs all the way, guys.
That's
all the way, 137 days, all the way to Vegas. If you're going, lucky you.
Yeah, with the website, I still haven't got the certificate on it to say that it's like safe and everything, like it is. But you know, and no one's asking for your details or anything on that website. So, but once it'll all be legit soon, as far as have all the safety certificates and everything on it, and yeah, it's going good. I'm getting quite a bit of traffic to it, and people are going to clicking on it and going to the Bulldogs websites from it. Soon I'll have people advertising on it. Like we're going pretty legitimate with it, as a little one-stop shop. But yeah, we're doing the media, guys. What we've realised here is we don't need the media to tell us about the Bulldogs. Most of the stuff that I share doesn't come from, it comes from watching the game, from all that stuff, watching the TV stuff. But all the stuff that all these articles online and stuff, if you like articles, you don't need to go to Fox to get them. You tell Moley and Roop, well, Moley's on Channel 9, but his stuff's rubbish lately. But Paul Crawley and all that, they're just all a bunch of fuckwits. And we don't need, we can boycott them. There's a whole bunch of, like Ethan Lee Chalk, who's on Zero Tackle, independent dude. He does some really good articles, and he's not too much of a prick, and understands the game a little bit, played the game. So there's quite a lot of independent journalists out there which are much better than what we're getting from the mainstream. The mainstream just want you to be pissed off They want you to either come defend someone or help or yell at someone, to bag someone, to treat someone like shit. And we don't need their talking points. We know what our roster is. We know the players on the market. We know how things might go down, and they're not going to tell you anything that we can't tell ourselves, basically. So all I say is don't click on Fox articles on if you can help it, especially if they piss you off. Don't comment. Don't click. Just leave it sit there, because the only way they'll change their behavior is if we change our behavior. As long as we click on their articles and entertain their outrage-driven headlines, it's always going to end up the same way. Okay? Click on my articles, guys. That's all I'm going to say.
You get all the facts and great insight, guys. Trust me.
Mate, Michael, buy whatever merch you want to buy, brother, and wear it with pride. Cheers, Scotty. Thank you, Andy. Much appreciated. And thank you, Timmy. Thank you, everyone who's come on. Thank you, Sketch Club, Mughus, Damo, Jamie. Once again, sorry, Jamie. Thanks, Amir. Thanks, Sayed, Davo, Joey J, Ricky Christian. Going to get everyone out. Pete, Uncle Pete, Jules 15, James, Zyad, Sean, and there's thanks to this bloke. Who is this bloke?
My son. He's the better half of the Don't Break the Fence, holding up the banner at all the home games and most of the away games, boys. Get ready for next year.
Azzy.
Aki.
Oh. It's like me calling you Gasson instead of Gassan.
That's okay, mate.
Gratitude, well, thank you and welcome again. And thank you to Sayed, Joby, and Rhett. That's everybody. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. And we'll have more content out for you this week, hopefully.
Thanks, guys.
And stuff.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good
night.
Good week. Go the Dogs.